So yesterday, our colleague in the newsroom, Fred Duho, was at Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital when he ran into a situation that got him to put this story together. You'd find on citinewsroom.com. Story says surgeries cancelled at Korle-Bu due to Dumsor, and I'll bring you a quick except it says several critical surgeries scheduled for Monday, April 29 at the Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital have been called off due to intermittent power outages. Tumor patients taken to the surgical theatre were returned to the wards when doctors realized the power situation was unreliable. Let's bring you highlights of that report.
Some doctors at the Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital who declined to speak on record indicated that critical cases scheduled for surgery were cancelled because they couldn't afford to risk people's lives due to the unstable power situation. Dysfunctional elevators also left many patients and individuals stranded on other floors for over an hour. According to sources, the generator is also not working, leaving doctors disturbed. A patient and a caregiver who spoke on condition of anonymity confirmed the situation and expressed anxiety about their situations.
Because of the light off, that is why they were not able to do it. They said without that light, that the surgery could not come on. Yes.
Is this the first time they are postponing your surgery?
No, this is the 2 times. Last week we went and then the oxygens were not coming. They brought me back, and then today too we went and the light off.
And how do you feel about all this power situation that is affecting you?
It's affecting me, Pa, because I always know that when we go and come, I will be free. Then we will go and then it will not happen. Then I will come back again with the same problem. So it's worrying me, Pa. I am scared, but sometimes we give everything to God.
Yesterday, we were told that they will be sending her to the theater this morning, and then he actually went there. We were there, and then they said power fluctuations. And a big hospital like this, I don't think this should be happening in Ghana or even at Korle-Bu. A big hospital like this, no. In fact, I'm really not happy. A big hospital like this in Ghana. As I speak to you now, I don't know what I'm doing now. And she's in pain. And she's in pain.
What condition is it?
It's a brain tumor. Yeah, brain tumor. And then we were told, he have to go and then they have to do the head surgery.
The head of communications at the Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital, Mustafa Salifu, told Citi News that the situation has to do with low voltage and not intermittent power outages as been experienced across the nation.
In the morning at about around 10 o'clock there, we suffered so low current. Power did not go off, but then the current was so low that you cannot do anything meaningful.
One would have thought that you have an alternative power source.
There is. We have gensets that usually will kick in when these things happen, but sometimes they may actually be problems with the lines that will not allow the gensets to kick in as expected. So but it has been rectified. Power, the low current that we suffered in the morning is over, and then we have resumed normal operations.
He, however, noted that the hospital is facing a myriad of issues that need attention. He called for support for the hospital in order to deliver quality health care to the public.
We have what we call Adopt Award, where corporate bodies and philanthropic individuals are invited to come to the hospital, identify the over 30 wards that we have earmarked for adoption and renovation, so that people can come and help us in the spirit of the celebration. They will renovate these wards, create the nice ambience for the patients, so that as part of the celebrations, our patients will have the benefit of whatever that they will give to the hospital.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Health-designate, Bernard Okoboy, charged the hospital to fix alternative power sources to avert any medical deficiency.
I have worked in Chebi Government Hospital somewhere in 2012, 13, 14. Way back that time, sometimes when I'm in the theater, lights go off. When the lights go off, we put on our generator. If there is an issue with the generator, we find a way to use our standby equipment to finish the surgery. Because someone did a video 40 seconds or 1 minute and said lights are gone out, everybody goes emotional. Truth is that if the country experiences some issues with power availability, hospitals are not outside the country, they also experience some. Another truth is that most of our hospitals have standby power plants. But just like management of a house, you can go to a house, they have generator, but maybe the generator has an issue. They want to put in petrol, had an issue. Let's stick to the essentials. Let's ask a hospital, how is your genset like? Is it working? If it's not working, have you approached the ministry? If it's working, who was in charge? Why didn't he make it work?
A critical health care provider like the Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital, known for referral cases, should be the least among health institutions that will experience any form of power outage. But today, for instance, the unstable power supply to this facility left many who are due for surgeries to have their process or procedure suspended, basically because the doctors say they can't risk people's life due to these situations. They are hoping that the situation normalizes for people to go into theater to get surgeries done to restore their health back to normalcy. My name is Fred Duho, reporting for Citi News.
So that was our colleague Fred Duho reporting for us from Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital yesterday, a situation where he was informed that surgeries had been cancelled in Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital as a result of the power outage, which the authorities there earlier told him was low voltage. Now there is a release, there is a response from the Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital. I'm going to read that to you. It says, news release, subject, surgeries have not been cancelled in Korle-Bu. And it says that this is to correct a misleading report in sections of the media that claims that surgeries in Korle-Bu were cancelled as a result of power outage on Monday, April 29, 2024, and a standby generator was not in use. The facts, therefore, are as follows. Work started on all elective cases in our theatres, and the operations proceeded as scheduled. 1. 2. However, we experienced low current for about 45 minutes in the face of low current that emanated from a problem at one of the substations of ECG. Our functional standby generators came on stream and provided power for work to continue until the problem was resolved. 2 cases at the Department of Surgery were returned to the ward at the end of the day on account of limited space in the recovery ward and not because of power outage. The rest of the other theatres spread across the hospital all carried out their surgeries as scheduled. Let me take that again. 2 cases at the Department of Surgery were returned to the ward at the end of the day on account of limited space in the recovery ward and not because of power outage. The rest of the other theatres spread across the hospital all carried out their surgeries as scheduled. As a leading national referral hospital, we wish to assure our patients and the general public that we prioritize their care and will continue to work to provide excellent services to address their health needs. We wish to appeal to the media to exercise great circumspection in publishing stories that are not fully verified because they undermine public confidence and create unnecessary fear and discomfort among our patients. So this is the statement coming from Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital. Mind you, the PRO for Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital spoke to Fred Duho in the reports that we just aired to you, where you heard him say that the hospital is facing a myriad of issues and that the hospital is running a program they call Adapt a Ward, where you can sponsor a particular ward and help them fix some of the issues that they have. You also heard him say that because of low voltage, they could not do anything meaningful for 45 minutes. So he says it was not power outage, but for 45 minutes, they could not do anything meaningful, and that there may be some problems with the lines. They got rectified. And you heard also a patient talk to Fred Duho who was to undergo surgery, and she had mentioned that it's the second time that her surgery would be postponed. The previous time it was an issue with the oxygen machine that wasn't working. And this time around, she was told that it had to do with the power outage, because if for nothing at all, the PRO for Korle-Bu Teaching Hospital makes us understand that for 45 minutes they had what? They had low voltage, and so they could not do anything meaningful. Now, we've heard the health minister-designate Nathan also tell us that, look, he has been a doctor many years in some remote area some time back, and when the lights go off, people don't panic and get emotional. What they do is to simply turn on the generator. So if the power situation is ongoing as we are all feeling, hospitals are not in a foreign land. They are all here, and so they will feel the impact of the power outages. So we shouldn't be all emotional over a 45 minutes 1 minute video, but then the hospitals should get their plants running and all of that. And I thought that's interesting. The minority in parliament has been voicing their concerns regarding this issue, so I'll just bring you that voice quickly. The name here is Alexander Roosevelt, right? And he is saying that he is suggesting for health facilities. Let me just read this. He has voiced his concerns regarding government's suggestion for health facilities to rely on generators during the intermittent power outages. His concern was raised after blah 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 feedback. Good. So he in an interview with Citi News says that he is expressing doubts about the sustainability. He is doubtful about the sustainability of switching on generators during the intermittent power outages. I'll just bring you this voice while we're having this conversation. If you have any experience in any of our hospitals, especially our public hospitals, do share them with us and let's know how the power situation is impacting healthcare delivery, especially for very critical life-saving situations like surgeries. But this is Alexander Roosevelt.
I think this power crisis is going to be another killer of Ghanaians. What my former colleague and friend, Honorable Dr. Okoboy, said is in place. They should simply resort to generators because there is Dumsor, which government doesn't want to accept that there is Dumsor. And they've been promising Ghanaians every now and then that in some few weeks' time, all these things will be over. Frankly speaking, when I look at what is happening in Korle-Bu, I think it is too sad. A patient lamenting that his surgery was postponed twice. If God gives you the opportunity to live after this and you miss it, where will you be? It is very sad. I want to believe that government's approach to this issue is lackadaisical. Government is not approaching this thing well. The statement by others that there is no show of leadership is very clear, and it is true. Because it's far too long. It is far too long. If the issue really is about fuel, what is preventing government from looking around for money to buy fuel so that this erratic power cut will be off?
Honorable, if hospitals are to resort to generators, would they be able to bear such a cost?
That is what I'm going to talk about in the next statement. Why am I saying so? My brother's idea is very good. But the question has to do with the ability to afford. The ability to afford. If government is not able to afford fuel to give us continuous power, how much less a small entity like Korle-Bu? Because Korle-Bu uses very huge machines. So if they resort to generators, they will not be able to survive because they will not be able to gather the kind of resources they should get in order to buy fuel. So the best is that government should adopt a proactive attitude towards resolution of this power crisis. Otherwise, I am not an exception. You are not an exception. Any of us can die at any time. And that will be too sad.
We know that.
I feel highly appalled about this development. We are going to talk.
Yes, we know that health facilities and some other essentials were mostly exempted from power outages. Why would all of a sudden a health facility of such nature like Korle-Bu would be taken off the power grid when the country is experiencing power outages?
From time immemorial, health facilities have not been paying electricity bill because they provide essential services. But it is this government that has stopped paying bills for the health facility. And from June last year, they be asked to be paying their own bills. And some few weeks ago, you might be an eyewitness to the huge sums of money that they've been mentioning that some hospitals have owed, including Korle-Bu. Are you getting the point? So you can just understand why health facilities under this crisis will not be exempted from power outages or from rationing of power. You understand? One will wonder if government can muster courage to tell health facilities to pay bills, which has never happened in Ghana before. Then it will not be difficult for that same government to, as a matter of wickedness or whatever it is, to refuse to ensure that health facilities are protected from power outages.
So that was Alexander Roosevelt. He's a member of the Health Committee of Parliament. Nathan, I am troubled by this development because, I mean, when I listen to the minister, fine, he says that, look, I mean, let's not make a fuss out of this. If the lights are going off, it's something that is happening across the board. It's happening everywhere in the country. Let the institutions that are responsible have alternative sources and let them do that, and life goes on. I get it. I mean, it's a very logical thing to say, but I as a citizen, as someone who is a patient, who can be a patient at any point, who can be a relative patient, someone who lives here, I don't feel any sense of urgency. I hear the minister-designate with a lot of insouciance, lack of empathy and care. I mean, so the hospital was out of fuel. Someone took a 40-second, 1 minute, and we are all getting emotional. People who had scheduled surgeries for serious and critical issues like brain tumor. Someone is going to be operated upon brain tumor for 45 minutes, as the hospital says that there is low current or low voltage, so they are not able to have that operation. And for the second time, the person's procedure has been postponed. And we say that simply that the hospital should find alternative sources. What is the state of the hospital's finances? What is the state of the generators or the power plants in these hospitals? Question. We know that fuel prices and diesel prices have all gone up. So how are the hospitals providing? As health minister, what I would like to hear from him is that maybe we have called all the directors of health in the various regions, right, to tell them what to do, because how long has this power outage have not been going on? People have been demanding, we've all been demanding for Dumsor timetable over the period. That has not been happening, right? While we have been doing this, there was a time we heard that General Hospital, they had issues as that, and that the Gen said had issues as well. You know, there are several people, I have friends who have businesses, they have solar, they have generators, but because for a long time we were not seeing this Dumsor thing, they sold their plants, and some have not serviced their power plants and generators for a very long time. So even if a hospital has a power plant, it is very likely that it has not been serviced for a long time, or there is no fuel in that plant, and so it is not going to work. And the bigger picture is that this is Korle-Bu. This is Korle-Bu, tertiary referral hospital, the best we have in this country. If you have any case anywhere around the country and you are sent to Korle-Bu and you don't have any answers, you should know that the answer is you are saying your last prayer, or if your family has the means, they are flying you out of the country. So if a whole Korle-Bu for 45 minutes, for 45 minutes, their power goes off, and we are told that people were, the elevator
was not working.
It wasn't working.
People were stranded.
And this is healthcare. Time matters. People's lives could be lost within a second. So if for 45 whole minutes their electricity is fluctuating, their power supply is fluctuating, and we think that is normal, then I guess we feel it's normal, because at any point, those of us who think it's normal and people shouldn't get emotional about things, when we fall sick, we jump on the next flight and we are out of the country. You are out of the country to places where they value your life, so that if power goes off for a minute, someone will be asked, someone will be sanctioned. Because if we have been in this country and for months we are having power outages and we have not had a plan, an alternative plan for hospitals, what they should be doing when the lights go off, have we done an audit of the various hospitals to find out whether they have plans and whether or not, how do they get fuel to run them? We've not done this. And then now we are saying with a lot of nonchalance that people should not get emotional about these things. And I've seen Korle-Bu's press release. Clearly, it's a face-saving press release, because how are you doing Adopt Award and telling me that the issue was fixed and that what you are seeing in the media is a misleading thing? For 45 minutes in Ghana's tertiary referral hospital, lights are off, and the PRO tells us on the record that they couldn't do anything meaningful. And now we put out the story, and instead of address the situation, you are now trying to, you are trying to challenge the credibility and the integrity of the report, so that it's always the media who are trying to create an erroneous impression in the image or in the minds of the public, that we shouldn't create unnecessary fear and panic. When your elevator in Ghana's tertiary referral hospital, a whole elevator was not working. Elevator was not working. And you are telling us that we are creating unnecessary fear and panic. If you were going to a hospital that is supposed to be the nation's premier referral hospital, and the elevator is not working, oxygen machines are not working, people's surgeries are postponed, and you are telling me that you are creating unnecessary fear and panic. I think that Ghanaian lives should have some value for Ghanaian leaders. Ghanaian lives should have some price, because the way we deal and handle ourselves, the way our people who are charged with positions of authority, the way they talk to us, the way they talk down at us, it's not right. I have a message here. It says, "Good morning. I am at Korle-Bu as we speak. Today is my 8th day. 4 days ago, before my baby's surgery is done, the power outage took place, happened 4 times in 46 minutes, but it happened at dawn and around 4:30 a.m. yesterday. So it happened again before it came back shortly. I had wanted to enter the lift when immediately the light went off. So those in the lift at the floor came out. Luckily, the doors were not closed. No water for 3 days at Korle-Bu. I couldn't freshen up today. And on the 3rd day, I've had to ask my wife to stay strong so I can rush home and freshen up and come back. My brother, nursing mothers whose kids are in the ward are going through a lot. They lay their clothes on the open floor to pass the night. If you are lucky, you get a big hall and lay your clothes to sleep, though under the mercy of mosquitoes. I feel for the mothers, because as a man that I am, it's a difficult thing to endure. And then he goes on to send some photos and tells us that he's currently at NICU. Let's go on to the phone lines because we have the Minister-designate, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, joining us on the line for a very quick conversation. Good morning, Doc. Good to have you.
Good morning, my brother.
Yes. Doc, we've had this power outage for some time now. What has been put in place so that when Ghanaians go to health care facilities across the country, the power outage will not lead to a cancellation or postponement of surgeries or the delivery of medical attention or healthcare?
Korle-Bu issued a release, I think this morning. Let me start by reading the release and then I'll address the issues.
We read that earlier. We have it too. We have it too. And we've read
my brother, yesterday I was in Korle-Bu. First of all, good morning to your listeners. Yesterday I was in Korle-Bu. I spent about 5 hours in the hospital. We had an engagement with management. From management, we went to take a look at the 25 million Ghana Citi refurbished fevers unit, which treats infectious diseases like retro, hepatitis, and others. From there, we went to visit a new treatment and holding center, which can help us when it comes to outbreaks like pandemics and all that. That also about 25 million Ghana Cedis investment. From there, we went to inspect a 38 million euro facility, a urology and nephrology center with 30 beds for dialysis, 70 beds for urological surgeries like prostate surgeries and correction of anomalies. We did all this with some of your brothers and sisters. And then when we leave Korle-Bu, someone releases a report or news that all surgeries have been cancelled in Korle-Bu because of power outage, when it is obviously not true. Korle-Bu, for the sake of your listeners, is not a hospital like Lekma, where you have just about 20 or 30 people being seen about 30 people or 20 people being admitted a day. Korle-Bu is a whole town. Korle-Bu sees an average of 2,000 OPD patients, outpatients a day. Korle-Bu does over 200 admissions a day. Korle-Bu has over 50 wings. Each wing is like a hospital on its own. So even when there is low voltage or there's a power issue, let's even say it's a power outage in one wing, it doesn't mean the rest of the 49 wings are off. And then someone will just put something on social media. Nobody takes interest in going into the issues. And then we put it out there. And we create an impression that everything has failed. We bastardize our own. Look, these were my comments yesterday. Every hospital, which depends on the national grid, just as you do at CTFM, it is our duty as a nation to make sure that, apart from the national grid, they have some form of standby generator or a second option, so that if the lights go off even for 10 minutes, they can put their power back on. And I made a statement that the video that went on at Tema General, if you watch the video and you're a medical person, the units that were videoed, they were on. They were actually serving the purpose. The standby batteries or whatever were on. But the one who took the video wanted and had an outcome or an objective. Tell the world that everything has failed. So even with all these UPS, the power batteries and the backup, nobody is interested. So my point is very simple. If we want to have discussions that will bring value to this nation, let's focus on the substance, not the form.
Dr. Okoboy, so
I'm coming. Just a second. Let me learn. What is the substance? We can do an assessment of all public hospitals and get to know how many of them have issues when it comes to standby power plants, if they don't have. Exactly. And then we can know that, about 80% have, 20% do not have.
Good. So that's the question I was going to ask you, that as a country, have we done anything? Do we know the alternative power supply situation for our major hospitals at least? Do we know? What do we do?
I am a friend of the media. I've monitored the space. The discussions we've been having has not been in this direction, which brings progress and value. And that is why I got my letter just about 5 days ago as the rep of the president, even that people made issue out of it. So these are the matters. That's the way I do my work. These are the methodological things I'm going to address. And I've been urging your colleagues, if they want all of us to build this nation together, let's focus the discussion. Those who are interested in creating...
I get that you want to respond to some people, but that is fine. You've done that already.
No.
I'm coming. Just a second. Yeah. What we care about is that we don't have control of our lives, and at any point, we all can be vulnerable. We all can be rushed to the hospital. Yes, and I want to know that with this power fluctuation that the government has failed to release a timetable for us to plan our lives, if I go to the hospital at my weakest point and the lights go off, what plan is there? Because we know that in some of the hospitals, their generators have not been serviced for a long time. Some may not have fuel. They don't have revenue lines to provide for fuel because these are things that are now happening. So what is the plan? That's the conversation I want us to have. So let's forget about the other people.
I'm sorry, my brother. If you say let's forget about the other people, that is not correct. I'm also a communications person. The other people have created a background with poison the atmosphere. I have a responsibility to address that one.
Which we have done already. So I wanted us to make progress. Let's make progress. We have very little time.
My brother, don't push. I've had a lot of feedback. Let me just address that one and go to your issue. I'll answer your question. Don't push me, please, with all due respect.
Go ahead.
I've addressed that, yes. Now, again, another education. Korle-Bu is not like Lekma, which has only one genset. The plastics unit, which is a whole hospital on its own, has its own genset. PICU, Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, has its own genset. Central, the theater, has its own genset. The CEO has informed me that all the units that operate in Korle-Bu have gensets. Those who have issues with their gensets, they are working to make sure that they help them to put it up to speed. The point I'll make on your show is that as a ministry, we shall work with the management of all public facilities to make sure that their standby plans are functional and up to date. Anytime they are needed, when called upon, they can function. That is the assurance I give.
I mean, so is there a funding alternative for this? What is the plan that we are going to work with them? Yes, but for those who do not have, what's going to happen?
All this while, anytime you see power outage in Korle-Bu, they don't close the hospital down. They put on their plans. They buy fuel themselves. Korle-Bu has a management. They have a board. They have ITF. They raise funds. They manage their facility. If you do a 30-minute interview with Dr. Mpoma, he will tell you the investment they make when power lights go out. The impression out there is that they are helpless. It is not true. Every organization has challenges. Whenever they have challenges, they call on us. We support them. But the point I want to make on your show is that when we are at our job doing our work, we have management that is putting up fuel to make sure that surgeries are carried. They are released, corrected the erroneous impression. The whole world thought Korle-Bu has closed down when doctors are in the theater saving lives. Let's tell the story as it is. They are not a perfect institution. We are working with them to make sure that they help Ghanaians anytime they need their help.
Yeah. Dr. Okoboy, thank you for talking to us. Right, so that was the Health Minister-designate, Dr. Bernard Okoboy. Your messages, let them come through 0549-986-996, 0549-986-996, and we'll bring them to you. We have some other conversations coming up later this morning. Some of your messages have come through, and we'll be sharing them with you. This one says, I am a health administrator in the UK. Korle-Bu doesn't qualify as a teaching hospital. We shouldn't deceive ourselves because it has medical school attached to it, so we should call it a teaching hospital. Korle-Bu teaching hospital. Okay, you add some other things that I would not read, but yeah, a good number of people are not too happy with the fact that the power situation is having an impact on our healthcare delivery. And we are having this conversation, this back and forth, and it's like we are trying hard to paint a picture that the place exists, the place is good, and it's safe, the systems are functioning. People have stories, real life stories that they are sharing with us. So if you have a surgery, it has been postponed, and you have brain tumor surgery, it has been postponed. Some of the conversations. That's the situation. People need to feel that the system responds and the system cares. We want a more efficient system, and it's not about what we are saying. It's about what we are doing and what exists there. So, we can have all the conversations we will have. What we need to see, the ultimate thing, is that the system will function. There are a few messages. Nathan will help us with that, and then we'll get to some of our friends who are in for a conversation. Nathan.
All right, great. Flo says the minister did not speak well at all. How inhumane can we get? This one says, see how far-reaching the effects of the Dumsor and low voltage are. Korle-Bu is calling off surgeries, critical surgeries, yet the president's rep at the ministry is asking for the hospital to fix the problems with the alternative power source. Having the plant is not enough. I hope they have managed their IGF and government subventions well enough to power the genset. And Mimi from Poco Assistant, and I completely agree. I don't think it's a matter of telling them they need to get alternative sources of power. Of course, that goes without saying, right? But we need to ensure that the plants are working. We need to ensure that the hospitals don't experience that kind of thing. And earlier, Bernard made a point, and the other day we were talking about it. How ring-fenced are these essential installations? So hospitals, power plants themselves, Ghana Water.
Several of them all ECG so much money.
The point is that how ring-fenced are they from the power crisis we are in? Whether the authorities will accept it or deny it, we are in a power crisis. But in doing so, we must juggle several things at the same time. We must ensure that the hospitals are always functioning. That is one. And two, they must have proper backup services to give them power, because the 10-20 seconds that the power goes off are 10-20 seconds that somebody can die.
Thank you.
Very easily.
Thank you.
So I don't think the issue is about this and that. I think the ministry should be very concerned that the hospitals are struggling to keep the power going and are struggling to ensure that lives are not lost during very sensitive procedures. So I feel that is where the energy should be directed at, not the fact that somebody is trying to create an erroneous impression.
At all.
Our colleague Fred Duho interviewed people at Korle-Bu, and the people have said it on record that their processes or the procedures did not happen. The hospital admits that it was experiencing a period of low,
quarter to an hour,
45
nothing
minutes
was happening.
Experiencing low voltage in an hospital is a major headache. So I think what the health minister should do, and he mentioned the audit, I feel that audit needs to be done very quickly. Let us see who has enough generation power or enough backup power. The people or the entities which don't have, you supply them. Make sure these plants are working well, so that when I go to the hospital and I'm on that surgery table, the power doesn't go out and then I die. Nobody wants to go out that way. Nobody deserves to go out that way. So I feel that the health ministry will have to look and do that audit and do it well and do it quick enough, because we are in a crisis. This is not the time to prepare for anything. Get those plants working. We are in an energy crisis, whether we will believe it or not. Let's move on.
This doesn't speak well of the government. It reflects very poorly on this government. I'm just wrapping up my thoughts on this one. It's a poor reflection. Dr. Okoboy tells us that he just had his letter some 5 days ago, and I get that he comes to the conversation with a lot of firefighting and that kind of thing. The situation is that the power outage has been with us for months. People are sleeping outside. Their mosquitoes are biting them. I learned of malaria plus yesterday. That's really killing people. You understand? And if in terms of our normal households, our businesses, and everything we do, education, you are not able to provide an alternative supply.
The hospitals
should not be part of that, and that's all we are saying. That's all we are saying. A government that cares should first of all even communicate to us when our lights will be off, so we can plan our lives. One, the government has failed to do that, so they don't care. It comes to our hospitals, our tertiary institutions. This is Korle-Bu. So what becomes of Rara? What becomes of Tokrano? So we need to actually, when we are demanding for answers, we are demanding alternative. Don't come firefighting and trying to address something. People are trying to make the government unpopular. It is the lives of we, the citizens, that are at risk. Those of us who voted you into power, those of us whose taxes are taking care of you, those of us who do not have the means to travel abroad to get healthcare, we are the ones demanding for answers. It's not anything.
Finally, K from Accra says the health minister has diagnosed our complaints as emotional, whilst we can't diagnose his reaction as irrational. When people are voted into power, are they to listen and fix the problem, or come out and defend the indefensible? Till you lose a loved one because of Dumsor, keep quiet and fix the problem. Dr. Okoboy, we deserve better from you.